Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. It's Saturday morning, so it's time for another Nebraska football pregame chat. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me is Danny Gillette. And in a few hours' time, Nebraska football will be playing to get to a bowl game this year, playing for bowl eligibility. 5-3, 3-2 in the Big Ten. We're tied for first place in the Big Ten West with Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin as the day starts. Danny, how are you feeling about the Huskers today, man?
I want to plan my itinerary for a potential bowl game. I want to start saving up some money, but I'm feeling great. I love football. It's Saturday. It's the weekend. It's a little cold here in New England, and I'm ready to sit back and watch some Nebraska football.
Yeah, you might need to plan, make your trip for Indy too. I mean, there's still a possibility
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
Huskers could be in Indianapolis the first week in December. So, um, yeah, it's crazy that, obviously that we're in the mix, we're in the conversation, and I think we've got a legitimate chance. Looking at the other teams in this division, I mean, Iowa and Wisconsin don't have their starting quarterbacks. Minnesota is a flawed team, and I think that Nebraska has as good a chance as anybody. But you got to stack success. That's always whenever you're trying to build a program. I always how do you handle success? How do you kind of stack success? They've won 3 in a row in the Big Ten. See if we can make it 4 today on the road against a Michigan State team that I think is better than their record shows.
Yeah, and the formula for Nebraska football, and I'll keep repeating this until I'm blue in the face. It's not sexy wins, so don't expect a 300 passing yard air raid attack with 50 points. It is what it is. They grind out wins. They run the football. They play physically. They like to control the clock. So get ready for another one of those today. And yes, there will probably be mistakes along the way. But through all these mistakes that we've seen in the past couple of games, like for example the fumbles, we've also seen that they're beginning to learn how to win, and that's equally as important for a potential bowl game or Big Ten championship game.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see Steve back. Go Big Red.
Good
Steve
morning,
is
Steve.
from here from Texas. Make sure anybody that's joining us to the chat, for one, good morning, and make sure that you guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our content. We usually are putting out few videos every single week. We do these chats every Saturday, so make sure you subscribe if you have not already. But yeah, this Michigan State game, I'm really excited about it for Nebraska. It's just, I like that they've got 4 opportunities here to, try to get to a bowl game. And I know that, looking at this game, Nebraska's a 3-point favorite. Michigan State's got a couple of young quarterbacks playing. Nathan Carter's a big player, running back. Nebraska's getting a little bit healthier, though it does sound like. Although I don't know if we're going to see. I still haven't seen much on Omar Brown. I know it sounds like Marcus Buford might play today, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I mean, everybody's got injuries at this time of the year, so you just got to roll with the punches, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't heard much on Omar Brown either. It seems like it's kind of up in the air a little bit. I wonder if we're going to see any indication on the injury report today, or if he's going to be out there. My guess is maybe not because he was in concussion protocol earlier in the week. But in any event, it would be good to see Marquise Buford back. And, you know, quite honestly, down the stretch run, it can't come at a better time. As, like you said, the injuries are stacking up. And we need as many, good athletes on the field as possible.
So Steve here, I think we can get 2 more wins for the season. What are your thoughts on Maryland and Wisconsin? Um, I guess from Maryland, they're an interesting team. I mean, it looked like they were going to actually, kind of turn the corner this year. They've got Talua, Tagovailoa. They've actually got a lot of other, pretty talented players. Mike Locksley, they just haven't been able to put it together. I mean, they played well for 3 quarters against Ohio State. It's not going to be an easy win. I
No.
would say outside of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, I would say that Maryland probably is the most talented team in the Big Ten, just talent wise. Because they have recruited the DMV very well. But they just, for whatever reason, they have a hard time putting it together. And I mean, that game it's going to be a big test for Nebraska because Tagovailoa, they're going to throw the football, but I don't know. Well, I feel like this defense, like I've said, I think Nebraska's defense is as good as just about any in the Big Ten, especially in the Big Ten West. So I feel like at home against Maryland, they're going to have a good shot to win that game, but it's not going to be easy. None of these games are going to be easy. It's kind of like what Matt Rule said. Nebraska could could win all 4 and they could lose all 4. I mean, that is a true statement.
I gotta figure out my Peacock login. That's what I feel about Maryland. But in any event, I think that Maryland, despite their recent struggles, they started off hot this season, and you know Tagovailoa is still an explosive quarterback. So I think it's going to give the defense a challenge. I think it's going to present a challenge to the defense, and I kind of feel the same way about Wisconsin as well. I think in past years, for example, Wisconsin has been able to run all over us with either, Jonathan Taylor, if any of you remember that game, or Braylon Allen the past couple seasons. And I think, honestly, this defense, I know Wisconsin's changed their style a little bit, but running the football is still a threat. And I think, this defense is perhaps the best suited to contain Braylon Allen out of the past couple of years.
Yeah, and he got hurt last week, so I'm not sure what
Yeah,
what
we'll
his
see.
situation's going to be, because I mean, and they also lost Ches Malushi, their other running back. So Wisconsin's kind of in a world of hurt right now, and that's just I don't see, even if Braylon Allen is healthy, he's not going to run on Nebraska like he did 2 years ago. Nobody's going to. I mean, even Michigan. I mean, yeah, they ran for 249 yards, but they had to earn it. It wasn't like they just they had a bunch of 80, 70, 80-yard runs. Like, I don't think we're going to ever see type of thing. I mean, and the reason why is because this team freaking tackles. I mean, that if you want to look at the number one reason, in my opinion, why Nebraska's defense is so good, it's simply the tackling. They fly to the football, they hit people, and I mean, if there's a 5-yard swing pass, goes for 5-6 yards. I mean, they don't give up yards after the catch. They don't give up. I mean, very rarely. And I think that's something that you see with good defenses. I think it's been the most underrated aspect. Like, I know Tony White's done a great job. I know they got great players all over the place, but just the way that they're flying to the football and getting people to the ground has been such a marked improvement over previous years that it shows that, yeah, you probably should be practicing tackling, Scott Frost. If you maybe had done that, you might still be the head coach. I mean, seriously.
I mean,
seriously.
if he just practiced at all or paid attention at all to his team, I think he still would have been the head coach. But in any event, I mean, I think the defensive line, their improved play with Hutchmacher and Ty Robinson, I think we haven't really gotten a lot of production from the defensive line in past matchups against Wisconsin, and that's going to change this year too. So, I mean, you talk about tackling, I look for Robinson and Hutchmacher to be, key X factors down the stretch because of the pass rushing element that they can bring.
And I mean, winning it at Camp Randall's not going to be easy.
At night, no.
So, I mean, it's going to be a grind. I mean, none of these games are going to be, I mean, even winning today in East Lansing is not going to be easy. I mean, the Michigan State's 2-6, but, obviously they still, if they can win today, then maybe they can, put themselves back in the mix for bowl contention. So every game's a battle. Every week in the Big Ten, anybody can beat anybody. Yeah, I do love that the defense has been flying around and keeping us in games, Steve. I definitely agree.
Yep.
They've been, I think they've been the best defense in the Big Ten West, and we'll see, what happens. I want to, the most important thing for me, I think the thing that's really helped them turn the corner in the last 3 games, they've got 8 takeaways, which is about 2.6 per game. And if you can, I mean, that if you're taking the ball away 2 times per game, I mean, then you're getting into the level of being a really, really good defense. And so if they can continue that down the stretch, then they're probably going to have a pretty good chance of, being in this Big Ten West race all the way to the last week.
And we've seen players really play their capabilities. I mean, you look at Tommy Hill, who had 2 interceptions last week. You look at a guy like Isaac Gifford, who has been flying around, making tackles, playing defense. Even, again, Robinson and Hutchmacher. I think you're getting what you expect to get out of these guys that we weren't getting last year. And I think we're seeing these pieces kind of come together. I've been impressed with Hill, especially because I thought he was a bit underwhelming at times last year, but now he looks comfortable in the secondary, and he's finding his groove and becoming a key corner for a unit that I've been impressed with just in terms of the way they've been able to play.
Yeah, I think, and then Sam here makes a point about the freedom of the players, in the system to play without the stress. The main concern. How many great athletes have rode the pine because they didn't have a complete, grasp on some war and
Yep.
peace playbook?
I mean, I
Um,
totally agree with that. Oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Danny.
I totally agree with that because even in the spring, the coaching staff talked about a positionless 3-3-5 defense, and you know you heard guys like MJ Sherman talk about it in the spring. You guys heard Omar Brown talk about it in the spring. They talked about freedom to play. It's a fast defense. You line up and go. I mean, so while I think there are benefits to a technical defense, sometimes, better defensive schemes are ones where you just let the athletes do what they can do best. I feel like I hate to keep mentioning the previous coaching staff was a lot on X's and O's and, not so much just letting players play, hold in, kind of they were just holding players back and not letting them, play the game of football. And I think this defense allows, guys like Gifford and Brown and, heck, even guys like Cam Leonard and Uma Millian to just, as soon as the ball snapped, just don't think about it and go play football. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I think I do think that that's part of it, and yeah, I just think that it's just a different mindset. Like
Yep.
they're not, when you're playing 9 yards off people. Like I don't know how you expect to be a good physical defense when you're just conceding. I mean, and that's not only. I mean, my Green Bay Packers do that crap all the time. I mean, it drives me insane. I absolutely hate it. That I hate when teams just run zone. I mean, I get there's times to run zone defense, and I understand why. You know what I mean? When you got,
Yep.
but at some point, like you have got to get up and physically challenge people. Like this is a physical game, and if you're just going to concede, completions, and that's what I love about that. They don't concede shit. This defense does not concede an inch. You've got to earn it. You've got to earn every single foot that you get down on the field on this team. And if you make a completion, you're going to get hit by 2 or 3 guys. Like that's just how it is, and that's how it should be. And I feel like that's a mindset that Tony White and the other coaches have kind of set, and that to me kind of transcends even the X's and O's. It's just the physical. Like we're not gonna let the offense dictate to us. We're gonna dictate to them, and it's been this defense reminds me of the first couple of years under Bo Pelini when and Ndamukong Suh was really flying and the offense was kind
Yeah.
of figuring it out, but you just still felt like that every week Nebraska was going to have an opportunity just to be in the game because the defense and it's not like I would rather see Nebraska on the ball, but it's fun when you watch this defense play. It's fun to see them get out on the field.
And you're not just going to get hit by the starters. You're not just going to get hit by, Tommy Hill, Isaac Gifford, John Bullock. You're going to get hit by the second and third stringers. Everybody that comes in, they understand their assignments and they're going to play their hardest. I mean, you look at a guy that's emerged in the past couple days. A guy I think I already mentioned on here already, but James Williams, the defensive lineman, he was able to, play well against Northwestern and make an impact there. So you're going to get, production or at least effort from everybody. It's not just a starter, mentality. It's an entire defense mentality. And this entire defense is buying in. And, that's good to see as well because that cohesiveness is also what's helping us win ball games.
Definitely, and there's I like that they've played so many guys, and Steve here mentioned we have some nice recruits coming in, and I guess this will be an interesting topic. Kind of missed over that, but we
Yeah.
have some great recruits coming in 24 and 25. Do you think they will try to bring in a better QB from the portal?
Yes, absolutely. And they better hit on this one. They can't afford another Jeff Sims, quite honestly. I mean, they need to hit on a good transfer portal quarterback. I mean, you look at some of the names that are out there right now, or out there playing for other teams this year, and we could have used them. I mean, Harburg's done a great job, no doubt. But had Harburg been struggling a little bit, and had he not played at as high a level in terms of winning games as he is right now, then that's a decision. The Jeff Sims decision was one that could have, quite frankly, bitten Matt Rule in the ass. But I mean, we've been able to make do, and now we got to focus on getting a better portal quarterback for next season. I think because you got to allow Kalen to develop a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I think they probably will add a quarterback in the portal, but I don't know if it's going to be, like a surefire starter, because I think you got to be careful with that. If obviously you don't want to get a guy that's like, necessarily a multi-year starter, because that could spook off, Kalen. There are players out there. I mean, that you look at a guy maybe like you know, Michael Pratt from Tulane. I mean, he could be a graduate transfer. I mean, somebody, like a Sam, if you could find a 1 year guy, like a 1 year rental, and I think that would make sense. But we'll see. I mean, I do think that Harburg, has at least, given himself an opportunity to compete for this job next year. He's
Yeah,
won a lot of games. And, look, I understand what people are. Yeah, I understand the offense is where it is.
yeah.
But, at the same time, I don't know that they're. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It wouldn't surprise me, but it also wouldn't surprise me if if they didn't really add anybody and they just kind of go with Kalen and Harburg and Chuba Purdy. Maybe they add another guy that has some experience, but it wouldn't shock me if they didn't add a big name quarterback in the portal.
And am I going to be enraged if they don't? Absolutely not. I mean, we're what 5-1 with Harburg, so it's not like he's losing us games in the sense that he doesn't know how to win either, because he's made some big plays too. But I would kind of like a bridge quarterback. However, if they elect to kind of ride with Harburg for another year, I wouldn't be upset. And one thing I just would like to see is maybe a little bit more work on his throwing motion, because I think if he can work on that just a little bit, over the course of this offseason, I think that would make him an even better quarterback. And I think we'll see what happens in terms of the coming years, because Nebraska just got a prediction from Brian Munson for Alex Mansky, and I don't know how much you want to dig into this, but I just thought that was interesting because Mansky, I really like the way he plays and the way he throws the football, and he talked about how he really enjoyed this coaching staff when he visited Lincoln back in June. And so I think, that would be another big get for the program as well. And, it's another case of the coaching staff zeroing in on a long time recruiting target and, hopefully sealing the deal. I mean, you never know with these predictions, but, I really do feel good about Mansky.
Yeah, well, this will be next week, I guess. For Maryland, will be a sixth visit. So I mean, he's come quite a few times, and obviously, I don't think you know Iowa's obviously a team in the mix, but I feel like Nebraska, has a good chance of winning that recruiting battle. Just knowing what's going on there at Iowa I mean, they're going to have a new coordinator, and their offense has been absolutely terrible. It has not been a
Yep.
place you want to go if you're a quarterback, which Nebraska hasn't been either. So we'll see, but I do like where they're at with Mansky, and I think you know, with Harburg, I do think that there is a chance that he is going to improve a lot. Another full off season. And the other thing too is you got to realize, like, I know our passing game isn't great right now, but he's throwing to three freshmen basically, and Thomas Fedoni, who's not even he's closer to 100%, but he's still not Thomas Fedoni, before he got hurt. I mean, he'll get there. He's getting healthier, but it's a whole all of it's a work in progress. So I think whoever's playing quarterback next year, with all these receivers, Coleman, Doss, Lloyd, having another year of experience under their belt, they're all going to be better. Fedoni's going to be better. So I mean, whoever the quarterback is theoretically should have an easier job, and that could still be hard. Just the way that he plays, I still think that there's something in that option type of running quarterback, where even if they do get another quarterback, like, they're still going to use Harburg to run the football. So even if they do get like a big time passer, which maybe they might be able to with how this defense is playing, he's still going to have Harburg's still going to have a role. I believe that for sure next year.
And I do believe the offensive line will be better next year. I mean, right now they're playing with, you know, they played with a new group last week who I thought did an outstanding job, all things considered. And we're gonna have Preston Tamua coming in next year. Maybe Grant Bricks. I can't really get a read on Bricks. I don't know if you can get a better read, but Bricks' recruitment's kind of quiet right now. I hope so. Um, but
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, Sean Callahan said that he thinks that Bricks will be Nebraska. Brian Munson upped his confidence pick. So I don't know. He's taking some more visits. So we'll just have to see. And yeah, Joe, as far as Carlon Jones, the Buckeyes have offered him, and he is going to be taking an official visit there. It's either this weekend or next weekend. So I mean, I am very worried about him flipping to Ohio State. Larry Johnson, their defensive line coach, is one of the best in the business in terms of recruiting and developing talent. I mean, they just have, oodles and oodles of draft picks that you can, point to beyond, the Bosa brothers and Chase Young and da 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 da. So that's going to be tough. I mean, I think he's visiting there. Actually, he's visiting for the Michigan State game, so that's not this weekend. But yeah, that's definitely, a concern. I think it does show that at the very least, the evaluation is really good for Nebraska and like Terrence Knighton and some of these guys, because Larry Johnson doesn't offer just anybody like that.
Larry Johnson is one of the best coaches in college football.
And he really, I mean, for the most part, like he is rarely offering guys that are ranked like outside the 200 range. So, I mean, at the very least, if we are able to keep Carlon Jones, that shows you he's a hell of a player, which I think most of us knew that.
And I would rather go toe to toe with Ohio State and lose out on a recruit than to lose out to, I don't know, Holy Cross or, Sam Houston State or anything like that. So, I mean, when you want to recruit with the big boys, these are the risks that you have to kind of endure. And we've already seen that with Kwan Lacey a little bit here.
And so with Tony White turning around the defense so well, do you think it's Satterfield or the offensive talent that's holding us back? I think it's a lot. I mean, look, for one thing, you've got a number of, Billy Kemp has been hurt, Marcus Washington, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, Ramir Johnson, who am I forgetting here? Not Anthony Grant, but our other starting running
back. A little bit too.
Right, but Gabe Irvin, is gone. So I mean, there's just been so many injuries. I think that they've done, a pretty decent job. And I mean, beyond that, like the elephant, I get not the elephant in the room, but yeah, Jeff Sims was supposed to be a lot better than he was. So I mean, I think if he had done that and and been able to produce the way that they expected, and all those guys stayed healthy, then yeah, this offense probably would have been better. But it didn't work. I think that Satterfield has done a decent job with what they've got. They're adapting. He's probably never run a play action pass in his life, and they've scored, a 44-yard touchdown and a 73-yard touch. So to me, that's good coaching, because good coaches don't force players to adapt to their systems. They adapt their systems to the players that you have, and I think that Satterfield has done that so far. And so yeah, everybody can do better. But the biggest problem with this offense is just hold on to the goddamn ball, and that has nothing to do with Marcus Satterfield.
Yeah, and not only that, but they admittedly got a little bit better, but the penalties this season have been a little rough, especially on the offensive line. So I'm not ready. I know a lot of people are ready to can Satterfield, but here's the other thing, and this is actually something that I've been wanting to bring up for a while that I just forgot. Some of these coaches may not be producing the way we want them to, but if we keep having a revolving door of assistant coaches, that's not helping anybody. So, I know a lot of people want to fire Satterfield and this, that, and the other thing. Give him next year too to see what he can do when hopefully people are a little bit healthier and they have the quarterback that they planned for and things like that. And because firing another offensive coordinator or another assistant coach just isn't going to help anybody at this stage. And it's not how you build a program. And building a program comes with, its ups and downs. And quite honestly, all things considered, I think there's been a fair amount of ups lately.
Back to here's a comment from CB on YouTube. Nothing against Heinrich Harburg, but it would be criminal for Rule to not go out and get the best transfer QB they can. That's not trying to run him off. That's doing your job as head coach. I mean, I do buy that point. Yeah, if Michael Pratt is going to come in here for a year, then absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be harder to find an upgrade for Harburg than people realize.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But we'll see. I mean, I could be totally wrong on that. I think Nebraska is going to be a pretty attractive for a kid like Michael Pratt, who's looking to go somewhere for a year and because this defense is going to get a lot of guys back. So I think that
19, I think, right?
Yes.
Something crazy,
like
yeah.
Something crazy.
So yeah.
I really do think, I mean, sort of like, Sam Hartman going to Notre Dame for a year, something like that. I do think that situation could work out, and I'm all for that. I just yeah, it's always quarterback recruiting is always delicate. I'll just say that,
Yeah, and I can definitely understand their frustration because I've wanted to break my TV at some of his play calls too, but let him like have a good year with his offensive system with guys that are healthy and quite honestly what he's been able to do with all the injuries and stuff, have given, him the benefit of the doubt to me. He's been able to, as Chris likes to say, make chicken salad out of chicken shit. So, I mean, these past couple of weeks have really kind of showed me, that he's been able to adjust to his personnel and, try to make the best out of a very difficult situation. And I've been impressed, quite honestly.
So yeah, let's see a couple of comments. Yeah, Sam I am mentioning that, Tony White wouldn't be doing as well if he was down 8-9 starters.
Yeah, yeah,
That's also something that CB mentions here. They have 3 of 11 starters on offense. What OC in the country would have
yeah,
done significantly better.
yeah.
And that's play calling is such a it's such a hard thing to. I try to look at. I think I've said this before. I just look more like at opportunities. How many times has like when I watch the Green Bay Packers. I look at how many times Aaron Jones has touched the ball, and if he's touched the ball like 5 times in the game, then yeah, I think the play calling wasn't great. I'm
He's
not.
ruining
I'm
my
not.
fantasy team.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. She needs to touch the damn ball more. But that's I don't want to necessarily look at like, oh, you should have handed on this play, but from a game planning, I guess you can talk about the game plan. Like some guys need to get the ball more, So, um,
No, I
Sam,
agree, but I
I
think at
am
the
fired
same,
up to the. You're.
I
I am
am,
fired
yeah,
up.
I'm
Bowl
ready to go.
eligibility, baby. Bowl eligibility is on the line.
But I also think like Jeff Sims is hurt. Heinrich Haarberg comes in. I mean, it's no secret that Haarberg struggles with throwing at times, and then as a play caller, you kind of have to be like, okay, we planned for Jeff Sims. Now I got to find out what works for Haarberg, and unfortunately, we've had to do that on the fly. And so I will say the one kind of criticism I have of Satterfield is that he doesn't bounce Haarberg to the outside enough. He tends to run Haarberg straight forward, and I get it. You want to get yards, but boy, that leaves him exposed to some nasty, nasty hits sometimes.
Yeah, he has taken a lot of hits, and yeah, the option stuff will be interesting. I'm interested to see how much they run Emmett Johnson today. He's got 12 and 13 carries the last 2 weeks for like 73 and 75 or 76 yards. So
He's been a
um
pleasant surprise for sure.
he has been. So yeah, I'm definitely interested, and yeah, I'm not saying that I don't think that Coach Satterfield
No,
couldn't do a better job. I'm just saying I don't think he's getting fired. That's just my
no.
opinion. And then Keels had a couple of questions here. First, he was talking about the transition from running back, and then but Danny, he wants to know where's Worcester University. Did I pronounce that right?
Worcester State University is in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm trying to see if I can have any if I can bring up anything that'll make you kind of know where it is or whatever. Worcester, 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 Worcester. I don't know if you know where Holy Cross is. I know it's a prestigious college. It's about a half hour from where I live. It's cheap. It's not the big college that I wanted to go to, but as I'm finding out now, and if there's any youngsters listening to this, don't go to the big college. You're going to be in tons of debt. Go to the one that you can afford. Go to the state college, and you can only have a little bit of debt. So, yeah, Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm actually from Massachusetts. I get to watch games on the Big Ten Network. And not to go off on a tangent, but I met Chris when we were writing for the same website originally. And yeah, this is one of the only people who I can actually talk Nebraska with, and people will not be like, you're in Massachusetts. What the hell are you talking about? Why do you follow Nebraska? Chris gets it. So
Well, I'm from Montana. I lived in Hastings, Nebraska, but live in Montana now. But I think everybody knows that once you're a part of the fan base, once a Husker, always a Husker. So at any rate, we're glad to have you as part of the Husker fan
yeah,
base, Danny.
for
And
sure.
let's see, what's your scouting report opinion on opponent strengths weaknesses? So yeah, Michigan State. in terms of strengths, it's kind of, the running back Nathan Carter is pretty solid. Their front seven's pretty good.
Yep.
Their secondary is bad. They have given up the most Big Ten, most touchdowns, any team in the Big Ten. I think they're, one of the worst teams overall in pass defense. The problem, and I mentioned that this week, is that Nebraska doesn't really have, the pass offense necessarily to go out and throw 30 times a game and take advantage of that. So, the Spartans do allow about 3.6 yards per carry on the running. So they are pretty stout against the run. And I really think that the running game on both sides, whoever wins that running battle, I think is going to win this game. So if Nebraska can outrush Michigan State, if they can hem in Nathan Carter, then I think they'll find a way to win, because at the end of the day, I don't believe that their quarterbacks are going to be good enough to beat us. I think that they're going to have to, I think Nathan Carter is going to have to run for 100 yards, and they're going to have to do some stuff with like play action to score against Nebraska.
And I'd love to see, some quick passing plays. There was a set last weekend when Harburg got the ball to Josh Fleeks and then just let him, his speed take over. I would love to see more of that. Getting Harburg some quick, easy throws and kind of moving the chains and getting the offense into a rhythm will make the run game even better and will add a little bit more balance to the offense. So I really love what Satterfield did last weekend for that set in terms of just getting the ball out quick and letting the playmakers do what they do best.
I did think that was interesting, that and Fleeks actually had some carries too early in the game, which wasn't, so that was kind of
he's been a late bloomer. He's been a late bloomer, but he's been impactful when he has played.
But let's see, Huskers Camaro. I'm sorry, if I mispronounced that, but yeah, Husker fans all over the country, definitely the best fan base for sure. Like, what's so great is, I live in Helena, Montana, which isn't that big of a place. It's like 40,000 people. There's some close, but I wear my Husker stuff all the time. I've always got my hat on, my shirt, and almost every single day that I go to Walmart or wherever I go in this small little town, I hear a "Go Big Red" almost every single time. So that tells you, no matter where you are in this world, a fellow Nebraska fan is not far away.
Having Brian Buschini as a Husker punter also helps things. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was a Capital High great here. So which, in speaking of high school football, in Montana, Quinn Clark, the Nebraska commit, because I've seen him play a few times. He had a heck of a game last night against one of the two teams that I cover here in Helena, Montana. He had an 85-yard touchdown. So Quinn Clark's looking like the best player in the state, and I think from seeing him in person, I feel pretty good about Nebraska getting him in the future.
I just can't wait to see these guys sign on the dotted line. I mean, recruiting makes me nervous, man. I don't know. I just can't wait to see them. I heard a rumor. I did hear this, and you can probably speak to this a little bit better, but
it's been circulating. I know, my buddy Connor Maldoni's been all over this at the Spartan Shadows, who's, we're part of the Full Ride Network with us at Husker Big Red, huskerbigred.com. We also have a great website you guys can check out. I don't know. I don't really see Urban Meyer taking that job. I know they're offering him a lot of money, but that's a tough gig. I don't think that Urban Meyer is much for rebuilds. Like, I think if it was, he maybe take over like a Michigan. I think if it was like a ready to win type deal, but I just don't see, even with Urban Meyer, I don't see Michigan State ever. And then does he want to coach against Ohio State every single? No. I don't see it happening.
He also has a really nice cushy job on TV that I wouldn't want to necessarily leave for the stress of Michigan State to leave my cushy TV job. So I can't blame him for that at all.
I also heard, the wife, Shelly Myers, calling the shots now. So she probably, would rather he be home. And to be honest, I mean, whether you like or don't like Urban Meyer, he has had some health issues, and coaching football, college football, is a 16 to 18 hour a day job, probably even more than that, with incredible amounts of stress. So I think, family, I just don't see him going back after the whole NFL Jaguars scandal. I think he can talk about football. He can be there. He can do the things he likes, and he doesn't have to have the stress. So I'd be surprised, but nothing Nothing shocks me though, so I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked if they, if he really, if they decide to pay him like $15 million a year, because that's probably what it's going to take.
I mean, I'd sign up for that for $50 million a year, but I mean, there is the health thing, and some coaches are just like you mentioned the Jaguars thing. Some coaches are just better in college. I mean, I think it worked out pretty well for Nick Saban. So, so
It's
some
working
coaches are
out
just better.
it was working out okay, I guess, for Matt Rule.
Yeah, I mean, he gets the Carolina Panthers money plus the Nebraska money. He's living nicely. Stakes on Matt Rule for the next couple of years, huh? I heard
Um, so
Purdy's.
yeah, he's so Purdy finally healthy. Might set him. He's our true option quarterback. I'd be surprised to see Sims going forward. I know they were talking about that. I think it was Steve Sipple, maybe in the Husker Online Tunnel Talk yesterday, or at some. But anyway, somebody I was reading about Purdy, and there was a comment from a coach that when he comes out of the option, when he keeps it, man, they said he's like getting shot out of a cannon. He does throw the football well when he's healthy. I did like what I saw from him in the spring.
And I like
And
what I saw from. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, after what we saw from Jeff Sims last week, I think I would rather see Chuba Purdy than Jeff Sims.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah, me too. I was screaming for him last week, but if you remember last year, the Illinois game when he came in, I think it was, and the way he runs really, really well, and he was one of the only bright spots, in terms of his running ability for that season when Casey Thompson went down. So I'd honestly like to see him play. I would not be opposed at all, to see him play because people are like, oh, he sucked last year and this and that and blah blah blah. I don't think Mark Whipple did the offense any favors, and I think even though he brought Purdy to Nebraska, he also limited Purdy with what his best skill set was, and I think this coaching staff would allow Purdy to do what he does best, much like they do, with the defensive guys as well.
Well, it just was clear to me he wasn't right last year.
They tried
He
to
just
force
didn't.
him in last
Yeah,
year.
I mean, it literally looked to me like he was shot putting the football. He just did not look. I mean, I've seen him throw it, at Florida State and and like this spring, he looked like a completely different person throwing the ball. So I still have hope that he could be, a solid quarterback. Um, I do like this comment, Rule, basically,
Yeah,
how he's all in, talking about he wants his girls to play for Husker volleyball. Did anybody? Yeah, it was a wild match last night. Almost the number one Nebraska nearly lost.
I know.
Lost the first two sets at Penn State, and then of course got the sweep from there. 15-13 in the last set. So just an awesome win for those guys. I love that team. So it's going to be fun to watch them keep progressing into the postseason and hopefully winning a national championship. Football, obviously, we got a way to go, but this Big Ten West race is going to be pretty interesting. I should check out the schedule. I haven't really looked at. I've been really focused on Nebraska. I haven't focused too much on who else the other
I'll go look up
teams
the
in the division are
schedule,
playing.
and then you can keep talking. And all right, so let's see.
All right, I got it actually here. We got
Okay,
Wisconsin at Indiana.
win for
So
Wisconsin, I think.
that's going to be a win for Wisconsin. Illinois at Minnesota.
Ooh.
That could be a tight game,
Hmm.
but Minnesota's a 1.5-point favorite. So I mean that tells you probably going to be a battle. And then Iowa at Northwestern, who all of a sudden is 4-4 and beat Maryland last week. So I mean, like people, I mean, this, yeah, Northwestern is closer to a bowl game than Michigan State or Illinois, or I mean, so it's kind of wild. But yeah, they're
I think
a
it's a
five.
testament to how damn good our defense truly is. I mean, because we made some of these quarterbacks look silly, and yet Northwestern is, done a really solid job. And I think their interim head coach David is a
Braun, yeah, Braun,
yeah,
yep.
David Braun. I think he's done a really good job, and
Yeah, he might keep
shout out
that
to him.
job. Shit, if he wins another, if he win, he's already won two more Big Ten games than I thought he would. I didn't think they would win any Big Ten games. And if he wins one or two more, then I would just give him the damn job, honestly.
Oh yeah, I would seriously consider him, depending on how the season ends, of course. But he's definitely shown that he can, handle that.
All right, guys. If anybody has some questions, we'll probably start wrapping up here. Before we do that, though, we always like to get to prediction time. So, Let's see, Big Ten Coach of the Year. What does Rule need to do to win the award, Sam? I think win the Big Ten West. I think if Nebraska wins the Big Ten West, they're going to win that award. I think here's the thing, though, because it's going to be whatever happens with Michigan. I don't think Jim Harbaugh's getting Big Ten Coach of the Year award. So, I don't know who's going to win that award. I mean, Matt Rule could have a real shot. If
Yeah.
Matt Rule gets this team to Indy, he's Big Ten Coach of the Year, 100%, no doubt about it. Other than that, they'll probably just give it to Ryan Day. I mean, I don't know what else they're going to do.
I'd rather give it to Matt Rule, because you look at, the Big Ten Coach of the Year award, the best coach. I mean, Ryan Day has a lot of talent still, even with the young quarterback in Kyle McCord. Rule, has talent, but he's had to not only rebuild the program, but, install the winning culture. And, I might be biased as a Nebraska fan, but there's a lot more to winning that award than just, winning games. And I think Rule has shown that, he's definitely deserving of the award. I don't think it's a outlandish statement at all to say that he could win it.
No, I think he's done. I mean, I think he's done a better job than Luke Fickell. I mean, I think Luke Fickell had more to, I mean, it's not like, he had Braylon freaking Allen, you know what I mean? Like, so he had one of the premier players in the league. Nebraska has not, I mean, they've got some guys that have really developed into top players, but there's no future first round pick on this roster right now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, and Kyle McCord is higher rated and probably better than every quarterback Nebraska's had since maybe Taylor Martinez. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just crazy
not to mention CJ Henderson in the backfield.
And Marvin Harrison and literally every receiver that basically McCord is throwing to is a top 100 player. Most
Before
of them are 5 stars.
Can we talk about the schedule for next year a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was officially announced. I just remember that. I'm gonna pull it up real quick, and then we can talk about it. I thought that was
seemed a little easier to me, but
hold on a minute.
I thought it was a little better, but it's tough.
It is tough. Hold on, I'm just pulling it up now. Nebraska football. I think there's at least a bowl game in the future for Nebraska next season. Let's see. So we start off August 31st. UTEP, Colorado on September 7th, Northern Iowa, and Illinois September 14th and 21st, all at home. So that, to me, I don't know what your thoughts on that.
We could be 4-0. We could be 4-0 right there.
4 home games in a row. Whoever made that portion of the schedule is awesome, and I know the person makes the entire schedule. But anyway, at Purdue, which is not easy, I mean, home against Rutgers. We got a bye week. Now we're at October 19th. We have at Indiana, at Ohio State on October 26th, UCLA November 2nd at home, another bye at USC on November 16th, home against Wisconsin on November 23rd, and then the Friday game against Iowa on November 29th. I mean, I'll just say real quick before I turn it over to you, I like the bye week in between Ohio State and UCLA, and I like the bye week, following the Rutgers game and before going on the road against Indiana and Ohio State, because I think that's, not an easy slate, but, I think it's definitely a winnable slate, especially when you consider, the talent that Ohio State is going to be losing next season.
Yeah, I think Nebraska could definitely win 8 or 9 games in that schedule. Just you're looking through it. Obviously USC is going to be tough. Ohio State's going to be tough. Getting UCLA at home, I think that would be still interesting matchup. They're obviously a really talented team. At Purdue, kind of going to probably be a tough game, but yeah, I mean, look, Nebraska could go 5 or 6 wins with that, but they definitely could win 8 or 9 games for sure. And you think about this, you think about having an elite defense, and it keeps you in a lot of games. So, I feel pretty good going into next season with all these guys coming back. I mean, hopefully we can keep like Ty Robinson. I know I'm, Nash. Hopefully those guys because there are guys that have played well enough to go to the NFL. Hopefully, they'll stick around here for another year. But either way, I feel pretty good about this defense going into next season.
I feel like Tommy Hill is gonna stay for one more year. I feel like he can stay for one more year just to get some more tape and say, here's what I can do when I play in a system that I'm comfortable in. I hope these guys. I hope a lot of these guys stay, but at the same time, we have Carter Nelson coming in. We got Hall coming in. We got McMorris coming in. We have Ja'Cory Barney, who was a finalist for some sort of Florida receiver award, coming in, and so there's going to be a lot of talent coming in next fall, and they may not play right away, but we're now starting to see us, being able to get the horses we can to compete with the likes of these teams. And I think if you had asked me last year, what the schedule looks like in terms of wins and losses for Nebraska, I would have said we would have lost like maybe one, 3 or 4. Now, a year later, with what Rule and this program has been able to do, and the pieces that they're bringing in, I feel a lot more hopeful that we can maybe compete with the big boys. Not necessarily win. I'm not guaranteeing any wins and national championship games, but at least being able to compete with the likes of USC and Ohio State would be pretty impressive because, and this just popped into my head now, I don't think Caleb Williams probably won't be back next year, right? I don't think so. He'll be in the
I
draft.
doubt it.
Yeah, he'll be in the
But
draft. So
their next quarterback was the number 2 quarterback last year, so they'll be okay. But
he's
yeah,
also a freshman, though. I mean,
there
yeah.
will be some drop off, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska's got a good opportunity. What to wrap it up with today, though? What's are you sticking with your prediction from earlier in the week, or we've got a few others so far? 28-10 Huskers is Sam
What did I
Mayan.
say? 21-10? Or no? Did I say 20-10? Yeah, I said 20-10.
Keel's got the Huskers winning 38-10.
I like that. No stress game. I would love one of those. I would love a no stress game. Yes, please. Yeah, I'm going with my 20-10. I'm sticking with 20-10. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game, but hey, these games, and I'll repeat it again, these games do not need to be sexy. They need to be wins. As long as they win, I don't care if the score is 6-3, which is probably what the Northwestern Iowa game is going to be. But anyway.
You're making some assumptions there, Danny. I'm not sure about that. 6-3.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it is the lowest. I did see it's the lowest over under basically that's ever been recorded. So
it's gross. It's gross,
so
but
that'll be interesting. But I'm gonna go 16-10 Nebraska. Gonna be a low scoring game. I think Tristan Ovano hit a few field goals, and we'll be celebrating bowl eligibility by the end of the day. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be writing about it, especially bowl eligibility. So make sure to check out Husker Big Red for all your updates and things like that. I'll be tweeting the game as usual. So if you follow me on Twitter, feel free to interact. Feel free to interact with all of us. And what are we going to shoot for again? Monday, you think?
Yeah, we'll be back Monday with our post game podcast, kind of our fallout. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Check out HuskerBigRed.com until then, and we'll be back on Monday.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Everybody's saying thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in. Yep, everybody, as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.